This is the tutorial on making sure that your preferences are set in Maya to meters, and how you want to do this, since Ogre can the viewer that we currently have in Ogre only exports correctly in centimeters. So what we want to do is set the Maya preferences for centimeters, but make sure the grid lines show 100 of those, meaning that the grid lines will reflect 1 meter each. What I mean by this is, if you come up with a Maya scene, you've got nothing in it, what you want to do first is go down here to this icon next to the red key icon, and this icon is for your preferences, your Maya preferences. Make sure that you click this and not the icon directly below it, which is the script editor. As you bring up the script editor, you're going to see something like this, script editor. You want to click the one right here, and after a moment your preferences are going to come up. When you get the preferences up, click on settings and make sure that under linear you've got centimeters selected. Make sure that that's going on. Make sure also, for just for clarity, that you've got NTSC 30 frames per second going on as well. So once that's set, don't press cancel, press save. Okay, then the box should go away. The next thing you want to do is make sure that your grid lines do not reflect centimeters but reflect meters. How do we do this? Go up to display, which is the 5th menu item over in Maya, and go down to grid. Grid should be selected. If it's off, make sure you turn it on, so you've got a little checkbox next to it. Go then into the option box, and what I have here is the length and width is every 1,000 units, meaning the entirety of the grid that I want to see is going to be 1,000 centimeters by 1,000 centimeters. That gives me enough to work with. But the grid lines that I'm going to be showing are only every 100 units. In this case, it would be 100 centimeters. So I'm only going to have grid lines every meter, because 100 times centimeter is a meter, and the subdivisions is just 1. You don't want to break out these the squares into any smaller units than possible, because it might throw you off as to what exactly is meters and what is not. So make sure that you have these. Again, it's 1,000, 100, and 1, and then press apply, and then close. And what you should see then is the grid. By the way, if you don't see it, press F, and it would reset your camera. If you have nothing, such as in this scene, you can see by my outliner I have literally nothing in my scene right now, it should reset your camera pretty good. However, if you're not seeing the grid line just like I am right now, what you want to do is go up here to View and press Select Camera. Okay? Now when you select camera, you need to go then into Camera Attribute Editor. And when you do that, I have my Camera Attribute Editor free floating. Some of you may have it pop up here on the right. Either way, it doesn't really matter. What you do want to do is go under the camera attributes and set your near and far clipping plane to something reasonable. Now what I have here is that once something is beyond 1,000 units for me, I simply don't see it. What you can do is enter some absurd amount, like 100,000 or even more, and the minute I do that, I'm able to see past the previous cutoff point of my camera. And the near clipping plane, it's not really a good policy to have it at 0.1 unless you're doing something like modeling and getting really close to an object. I like to have mine at 1. That's a pretty good distance as well. I'm going to bring this all in here so that people can see that I've got 1, and in this case, you know, as many 6s. It's kind of arbitrary. You can have, you know, like a million or 10 million or whatever, but something with at least 6 zeros, I like that. So type that in, and then you press select and close just to make sure that you're good. And now what you have is you have a grid that shows you 1 meter for every one of these. Every grid is 1 meter, and the reason it's 1 meter is because while Maya is in centimeters, we have gone up here into the grid area and we have said, yeah, it's in centimeters, but only display grid lines every 100 of those centimeters. So everything down here is 1 meter, and that's a great way to build, you know, 100-meter high buildings and things like that, and still make sure that you're seeing it accurate, even when everything is set to centimeters in Maya.